Good evening, all. Dr. Jared here. Want to welcome you to our presentation of Mountain. Mountain is an acronym called MTN, stands for Metabolics, Toxicity, and Nutrition. This is a special program that we have in our clinic where we've brought in Abby Bradford, who is an integrative nurse, to really help people that have worked to live better, feel better, heal better, but just maybe have something that's blocking them. So we do Metabolix, which is another term for special testing. We do customized nutrition and focus points, as well as supplementation based on hair or blood analysis, and toxicity or detoxification within the body, especially based on the testing that you do. So this is a program that we do. Tonight is all about having the opportunity to be exposed to it. There are next steps that are going to be available. So at the completion of the broadcast tonight, you will have the opportunity to schedule a time to meet with Abby, either virtually or in the clinic. And that can be either soon or it can be after you feel comfortable with COVID being completed. So you'll have multiple opportunities, but a lot of this can be done virtually. Tonight's content is fully complimentary. Should you choose to want to take next steps, I'll go over how you do that, and the fees for the next steps will include things like the testing, the meeting times with her, the specific supplements that you need. But really, I think before we dive into what all this entails, I always think it's important to hear from somebody who's done it. Now, I'll tell you, I'm personally, my wife and I are personally in the process of doing a mountain program ourselves. But Don, who's going to talk to you right now, Don is somebody who did the program for what we're really focusing on right now. So he had elevated blood sugars. So some of the focus points right now for this mountain program are people that are either dealing with high blood sugar, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, or high blood pressure. So he's going to tell you more about his experience. He started, was November, December, or October?
October.
October. Yeah. So started in October and has completed his program, and just it's going to tell you his experience and a little more about the program. So welcome, Don.
Thank you, Dr. Jared. My name is Don Newman, and I'm here not because I work for Chiropractic First. I'm actually a patient here, just like so many of the others of you. And I've been here for 6 years. But I wanted to talk about how the program has worked for me, and more importantly, why I'm even standing here. It was actually at my request. And it's my way of saying thank you, because the program has been so successful for me, and I just wanted to pass that along. So I'm 67 years old, and I'm the kind of person that through my whole life, I've struggled with weight. And I've been on every diet program there is, every crash program. They all seem to work. And then as soon as you end the program, the weight comes flying back and you end up at a higher point than where you started. And so my weight kept going up, and then I eventually ended up on blood pressure pills. And about 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And diabetes and metabolic syndrome, problems with cholesterol, not because my cholesterol is too high, but because my HDL was too low. And so on medication for that. At the time, my weight was 330 pounds. I was really heavy. And I had realized that going on crash diet doesn't work. But what I did do is I did try to eliminate a bunch of sugar, mostly through the soda pop. And I was able to get my weight down over the years, down to about 290. But then I couldn't get it any lower. And the diabetes continued to get worse. The blood pressure continued to get worse. And I joined Chiropractic First about 6 years ago, and came here for my back, not having anything to do with other health. But when I came here, I started coming to the evening classes. And the evening classes were eye-opening in terms of health. And let me just say that if you don't even decide to do the mountain program, go to those classes, and every time try to come away with some takeaway of some way that you can change your life in terms of your eating habits. it'll make a huge difference. So from that point 6 years ago until the point in October, I got my weight down into the low 240s, but then I had kind of plateaued. My blood pressure had significantly improved. My diabetes had continued to get worse. In fact, at that point, I was on one combo med for blood pressure, but at a pretty high dose. And I was on 3 different oral meds for diabetes, but on a high dose for all 3 of them. And so that's where I started this program. And I've now completed the formal part of the program. I'm in a follow-up that I'll be continuing to do at least over the next year. Just amazing improvements. My weight right now, this morning, I weighed 213. I'm taking 1/4 of the blood pressure medication that I used to take. And frankly, I don't know if I need that anymore because my blood pressure is very, very stable. My blood sugars are dramatically better than what they have been. And that's with 2 of the meds completely gone. And I'm working now on how do I get rid of the 3rd one so that I'm completely off of all the meds. Just fantastic results. The most important thing is that it's taught me lifestyle changes. And a lot of the lifestyle changes came through from the various talks that I've been going to for the last 6 years. And this program it's a guided one-on-one program specifically for you. And that taught me the things that I need to do to help in my specific situation. So I don't know the situation for any one of you. Obviously, we're doing this in a one-way communication style, so there's no way to take any questions. But I strongly encourage you to take advantage of these programs, and hopefully you get the same kind of results that I did. So that's it. Thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Jared.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Yeah, I'll see you later. So as you heard, so for Don, super great guy, and I will just tell you, he proposed that at a dinner program that we had, and I love it because, ultimately what he was doing for the last, in my opinion, for the last really more than 6 years was working to put his health in his own hands, giving his body the ability to heal from the inside out. But maybe you thought this, and hopefully, this was the biggest takeaway since he first started, back in October, was ultimately losing 90 pounds, but being on some of these medications still caused his body to continue to wear out. So he lost 90 pounds at his most, but it still needed to be on, blood pressure pills, 3 different diabetes medications. And so the only difference in losing that next 27 pounds was the how, was ultimately a program of testing his metabolics, detoxing, parasite cleansing, and supplementing specifically to support things like his adrenal glands and his thyroid hormone and his pancreas and the different organs that affect your metabolism and affect your insulin levels and your blood sugar levels and all that kind of stuff. By really investing in that, it's made a huge change, and one that's likely to benefit him for years and years to come. Now, like I said, for everybody that's listening on here, this may just be a great exposure point for you. I hope you take, if you're brand new to this, the Mountain program may not even be for you because you need to take some basic action steps. But if you're somebody who really wants to attack this or do it at the best level, or maybe even more importantly, has some guidance and some medical professional helping you make the best decisions, then that's really what this is for. So at the end of this, you're able to do this a couple ways. You can call the clinic, which I'll put the link in. You can email us through the website. You can private message me, or you can post that you'd like to be called or contacted right in the comments. But what you're going to do is have the opportunity to be tested. And the way that we test is we're going to test you with a body composition scale. So it's a multi-$1,000 scale that looks at not just your weight, but your body fat percentage, your visceral fat percentage, your body water percentage, as well as what's called a bioenergetic scan, which helps to, at a deeper level, give a snapshot test of how your body's functioning. Additionally, we do food journaling and we do goal setting. And then based on those things, you meet with Abby and you have the opportunity where she'll recommend which testing you do beyond that. And then we put together a specific protocol for you with individualized supplementation, dietary recommendations, and a multi-month protocol for success. Whether your goal is to lose weight, to get off of medication, whatever it is, really, we're not here to guarantee a certain result. That's not the point. I'm not saying you're guaranteed to lose 15 pounds. You're guaranteed to get off a pill. When we're giving you the opportunities to give your body the best possible chance, if you follow these programs, to be healthier, and the healthier person in most cases needs less medication. I think that probably makes sense to everybody, but let's go ahead and get into this. So Metabolix, toxicity, nutrition, our vision or our goal is to empower people. It's to help you lead the best health and the best life possible. I can tell you, recently, in fact, last week, we lost my grandfather. He lived an abundant life. He had 87 fantastic years. He had about a year and a half where his body and his heart really wasn't cooperating. But one of the toughest things is he, from 65 or 70 on, really made a ton of healthy changes. Ahead of that, though, one of the reasons that he was in the level of health that he was his doctor recommended he just simply take a medication called Tylenol arthritis, take 4 a day, and it ruined his kidneys, they believe. So, that was the lead into some of the heart issues that he had. So, and his kidneys failed. He was on dialysis when he died. And why? Because 30 years ago, he was having pain, and instead of getting to the root cause of the pain, somebody said, hey, it's part of life, just cover it up. And, I can't agree with that. Even though he lived a fantastic life, I absolutely can't agree with somebody being given bad information. So if you're sick of taking drugs, if you're sick of covering stuff up, if you want to feel better, heal better, you really maybe need to look into a different step on how to do it. In Maximize Living, we talk about these 5 essentials: nutrition and mindset and chiropractic, exercise, minimizing toxicity. But, we look at your health a little different way. First of all, you can't feel your health in most cases. Many of you have heard this statistic, but only about 10% of your nerves feel pain. Yet the average person, if I talk about having a pinched nerve, they associate it with pain. Back pain is the number 2 reason somebody goes to the emergency room. Now, while people are currently trying to avoid the emergency room, that's one of the reasons that I believe chiropractic was declared an essential medical service, is it keeps people from having to go places where the highest level of infection is. But the second thing is this function chart, which many of you remember, but you have to lose a high percentage of the functionality in your body before you get the symptom. If I can reference back to Don one last time, it's that even though he lost all that weight, because he had lost the function in his body, it didn't come back as well as it could have. I'd be scared to know what would have happened had he not decided to make those life choices. But at the same time, think about, functionally, he was getting worse even though the weight was coming off, because there was an underlying problem inside. And that's where this program is probably different from, let's say, a weight loss program that you might have tried, is we're really working to help your body heal and function better. Here's the next point. If I'm going to go ahead and tell you, for those of you that remember the movie The Matrix, they talk about, the red pill or the blue pill. I'm going to make it big here, but the red pill or the blue pill, it's tough to have your foot in 2 canoes. Think about, if you're standing in 2 different canoes, how unstable you are. I hear people say very frequently, like, I just wish my doctor would teach me more about this, or I wish you guys were aligned. And here's the reality. While I have a lot of medical doctor friends and I fully respect, many of their opinions on things, the medical perspective on this is often to wait until you have symptoms and then treat the symptoms. We believe in building the vessel. I mean, if you have a nice car, if you have any car, nobody says, hey, wait till the engine starts smoking to see what's causing the engine. No, you set specific times to change the oil, to do maintenance, to do tune-ups, to change the tires, to do all the things that allow you to maintain that at its best possible. Yet you can buy a new car and you can't buy a new body. Even when you have an organ taken out, you typically don't get a new one and yet you need many of those organs to operate at your highest functionality. So you really have to choose tonight, which direction are you going? Are you going to embrace a holistic lifestyle where you try and heal yourself? Are you going to continue to treat your thyroid with thyroid medication and your blood pressure with blood pressure pills and that kind of? You have to decide, and it is fully your choice. So starting with some nutrition, there's no way that I can get all the way through every single aspect of nutrition. If you're really interested in nutrition, you should watch some of our past videos. I've been posting every day with our paleocardiologist seminar. The first several of those posts, which are available both on my Dr. Jared Erdmier page, Chiropractic First of Rockford page, and YouTube. If you don't have Facebook, you can go to Chiropractic First of Rockford on YouTube, and they're all there. We go into a lot more detail on what you need to be doing nutritionally. But I will say there's some barriers, and you can probably read them here, but people get tired of conflicting information, and I get that. I get tired of conflicting information. But to me, the only advice I can give you is choose the road that makes the most sense. Once you find something you agree with, follow it and get the results. If you're constantly changing what you think, it's not that different from having your feet in two canoes. People not wanting to feel deprived. One thing I can tell you is there's no calorie restrictions in anything that we're going through. There might be food restrictions because, quite frank, candy bars are bad for you. Pop's bad for you. Sugar's bad for you. It just is. So there might be some food restrictions, but there's no calorie restrictions. So you can eat, you can feel full and sustained and all that kind of stuff. We look at this as a long-term thing. That's why we don't sit here and make guarantees. I am not into guarantees. My passion is not weight loss. It's healthy living and feeling good and really living in abundance. So I'm not going to stand here and make guarantees for you. When you talk about budget, again, we're going to get into that later, but there's a lot of things that you can look at that cost a whole lot more, and you can look at somebody on their deathbed and they're willing to pay a lot to have their health that they don't currently have. But a couple things, since we're really focusing on blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol, according to the paleocardiologist, which is the book that we've been sharing and reading as a staff, and as a reminder, there we go. This is by Dr. Jack Wolfson, a licensed cardiologist, where he goes into eating paleo. But sugar, more than eating cholesterol, increases bad cholesterol, specifically the LDL that's known to oxidize or cause plaquing. Sugar raises blood sugar. That's probably not surprising, but the more sugar and refined carbohydrates you eat, the more you burn out your hormones for insulin. And that's what type 2 diabetes is in a nutshell. Insulin resistant diabetes. It means that the more your body is not able to accept all the sugar you're consuming, and over time it damages your pancreas and causes burnout. Additionally, even when you talk about blood pressure, by causing inflammation in your body, you can cause vasoconstriction, which is linked to high blood pressure. So sugar alone and refined carbohydrates are something that is bad for us, and we consume at massive levels if you take the average American. So just cutting out sugar could radically improve your health. I already mentioned a few of these things, but sugar has all sorts of problems, and it's also linked to hormone imbalances. And I think that's important to know, because hormone imbalances are what often can affect people's sleep, can make them look worse as they age. It can affect women in their postmenopausal things, because it can affect your adrenal glands and burnout. It can affect your thyroid. I mean, there's just so much. And I don't think it's a secret that sugar's bad for you. But a lot of people need more motivation than just knowing that it's not good for you. I already mentioned inflammation, but it also weakens your immune system. One of the things that I talked about recently a lot that really bothers me is one of the local establishments close to our clinic sells like baked goods. And while baked goods, maybe are a good vacation meal for you or something, but the same time everybody's freaking out about immunity, there's a line around the block with an hour-and-a-half wait to buy something that lowers your immune system. It just doesn't make sense to me if we really look at it from a logical perspective. Now, one thing that does absolutely need to be included in your diet, no matter what you're doing, is healthy fat. Healthy fat is maybe the most misunderstood of the macronutrients, but you need to have healthy fat in your diet. Healthy fat is things like avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, the fat from certain grass-fed or free-range organic meats, seafood, especially wild caught. If you need more information about that, please watch our previous videos. I don't want to be too redundant for those that are avid watchers, but you got to eat healthy fats. For those of you doing the Mountain program, you specifically leave with our Align Your Health book because you need to have almost like an encyclopedia. So you're going to leave with a book that has shopping lists, that has eating recommendations, that tells you why. And so this program does take some work. It takes some time investment to get the good things. Some things to really stay away from: hydrogenated oils, trans fats, vegetable oils like corn oil and canola oil, soybean oil. I mean, those things are not healthy for you in just about every study that's done. And again, if you want some of the research, you can follow back in the paleocardiologist on why you should eat. So I'm going to bring this list up. If you, some people will screenshot or take a picture of this, but these are the good fats. This is where you want to get more of your healthy fats from, is the one that says good fats on the right there. So continuing beyond fat now, meat and dairy are where you should spend most of your money if you're only going to buy organic in one area. The reason is the toxicity buildup effect. So animals that consume, the larger the animal, typically the higher toxin count. So starting all the way down with, let's say, green algae, and then through like sardines or, tiny fish, by the time you get up to a 300-pound tuna, they're the ones that can have a lot more toxicity. And why do they have more toxicity? It's really not their fault. It's our fault. Humans have polluted the water. Humans have, done these things that cause heavy metals to be prevalent in areas that they feed. And so they store in their fat. And if you're going to eat their fat, you then gain those things. For farm-raised fish, you might hear about sushi having parasites, or pork holding parasites or toxicity. This stuff is it just is what it is. But, animals that are non-stressed, like you might see in the right side of that picture there, that are given land to free roam on. Why do cows, why is free range so important, or grass-fed? Is because cows are built to eat grass and turn that into healthy bodies. Cows don't process corn very well. In fact, it makes them severely acidic. They don't process soybeans very well. They'll get fatter faster, but that's why the fatty acid ratio is so imbalanced, is because they're meant to eat grass. They're not meant to eat those things. Just like you might be fine eating grapes, but a dog shouldn't eat raisins. Well, are raisins bad for you? No. But are raisins bad for a dog? They can kill them. Well, it's a different animal makeup. It's the exact same thing. So the animal that you're eating should have ate the diet that it should eat. And so that's why it's so important to eat like that. Now, you can see that again, healthier. Now, this is what I was talking about with biotoxic accumulation. If you look at that slide on the left, this is why we recommend eating or buying organic, grass-fed, free-range meat first, because it has the highest level of toxin concentration. When you talk about essential fatty acids, we're talking about omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. So the average person, depending on what study you read, can have a 20-to-1. That's severely inflammatory. What's inflammatory cause? Causes LDL. It causes bad cholesterol. It causes vasoconstriction. It causes all these different things that we're talking about. Even beef, you'll notice they're similar to a person. So grain-fed 20-to-1, where grass-fed is 2.5-to-1. These are what you want to eat. And this is why grass-fed beef is not necessarily linked to heart attacks like grain-fed beef is. So that's our dietary thing. Like I said, I go through that faster because research shows that online presentations, this program is typically about an hour and a half long. Research shows that people that were watching online like to break it up into smaller components. So like I said, I did that shorter. If you have an Align Your Health book, if you're a current client, you could read your book. If you like watching things online, please go back and reference our other videos, especially the ones related to the paleocardiologist. So again, if you're interested in the Mountain program itself, please either private message me, post a comment, click on the link, and send me an email. But we will show you how you can make an appointment with Abby if you know you want to be tested, if you know you want to have better levels of your overall health. Now, parasites. Why am I talking about parasites? This is actually one of the few programs I'm going to talk about parasites, and the reason is parasites do exist. They exist in your body. They're very difficult to detect, though. One of the ways that you can see them is now what's called live blood analysis. That's where you prick your finger and look at your live blood under a microscope. The tough part about that is it doesn't necessarily show your overall profile. Now, parasites, ways to avoid parasites are to avoid raw meat and to avoid certain types of meat that tend to hold parasites more. So things that tend to hold parasites more are things that are, let's call them bottom feeders. Like, so, you know, if you want to talk about this biblically, when they talk about avoiding pork and shellfish in the Old Testament, those two types of meat are shown to have more parasites. I'm going to show you in a video that I'll openly tell you I did not perform myself, but it's on YouTube. But where they show pouring Coca-Cola on a piece of pork and having parasites come out of it. But I will tell you, I have actually done a parasite cleanse myself and seen parasites come out of my system, and it was gross. Now, parasites, there are certain studies that show parasites are linked to different diseases in the body, cancers and other things. Now, again, there's more research that needs to be done, but if you've never done a parasite cleanse and you're an adult, realistically, you need to do a parasite cleanse. And they're very simple. They're not these drugs that have these massive side effects. Parasite cleanses use things like vitamin C, which again, right now seems to be back ordered everywhere because a lot of people are taking vitamin C for their immune system anyway. But there's certain other things like wormwood, and there's actually protocols that are shown to kill parasites in your body, and they'll be evacuated through your bowels. So parasites are something that you should cleanse, and if you never have, often in our programs, a parasite cleanse is included or recommended by Abby in the program itself. So we're going to mute this because it swears a whole bunch. If you ever want to watch this, you can type this in on YouTube, and you can watch this video. But what you're going to see here is about a 1-minute video where they pour Coca-Cola onto this meat, and then parasites potentially come out. Now, why Coca-Cola? Takes the oxygen out, is our belief. All right, so again, you can see why a parasite cleanse would be necessary, because often you're consuming it in your food. Now, let's go to toxicity. So again, Metabolix are testing toxicity and nutrition. You know, it's just the fact that the world is toxic is just a fact. I mean, it does. You can look at in the paleocardiologist, it talks about it talks specifically about how 100 years ago, people are exposed to enough toxins on average in 2 days in our current culture than people 100 years ago were exposed to in their entire lifetime. So why is toxicity a burden on the body? Is because of what we're used to being exposed to through the evolution of humanity and what we're currently exposed to. It's only been the last 40 or so years that all these extra food type substances have been allowed into our food structure. You know, you used to have to label if you use non-food substances partially because of genetic modification and disease resistance. There's progressively more pesticides and herbicides and fungicides sprayed on our crops. Right in Illinois right now, we're about to see all that stuff being laid down as they're getting ready to plant. There's not nearly the use of natural fertilizer that there was, Roundup or glyphosate, which was, the most prevalent pesticide or herbicide used by, produced by Monsanto. The last time I looked, there was over 12,000 lawsuits for how that caused cancer. It's one of those things where it's an incredible fatigue on your body, in my opinion. And so if you don't actively, intentionally detox, you can often get bioaccumulation. Why does that affect you? Well, bioaccumulation, first of all, your body likes to store toxins in your body fat. So if you can't detox efficiently, you can store toxins in your body fat. Now, keep in mind, that's an incredibly intelligent thing for your body to do, because it keeps them away from your vital organs. But over time, that storage of toxicity can cause you to retain weight. It can cause you to have hormone whatever we're trying to say, like hormone imbalances. It can do a lot of different stuff. And toxicity, like I said, is linked to things like cancer. It's linked to heart disease. It's linked to thyroid dysfunction. There's toxicity. There are links to all this kind of stuff, and you can research it on, government websites like PubMed and all that. So, how do you test your toxicity? Well, you can test certain things like heavy metal toxicity in certain tests, but there's also, not everything can be tested, and therefore, you should be whether you do it with the Mountain program or not, you should be detoxing routinely. You should be doing, my opinion is, or at least what I do personally is, for even our regular detox, I do 1 to 2 boxes a year, every year. But right now, and so a few years ago, I did full organ system flushes, which is a program that we do. And right now, I'm doing the detox portion of the Mountain program. So detoxing is in my opinion, very, very important for your overall health. And a lot of people miss the boat by really not thinking about what accumulation of toxicity can do to their system. Now, GMO, I think everybody at this point knows, genetically modified food. It's adding traits in. Now, the reason that is effective or affects us so much is really, if you look at this chart here, genetic modification wasn't all that prevalent in most of your childhoods. If you see that, many of with the exception of cotton, pre-1996, less than 10% of most of the foods that we eat were genetically modified. If you go to 2012, it's getting close to, it's over 80%. So I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that, genetic modification has been around forever. It's actually really only been super prevalent the last, let's say, 25 years or so. And so what we're doing, we just really don't have a lot of long-term studies on what that does in our systems. And in certain cases, you could argue that it's tough to recognize these foods as the same foods that our ancestors ate by the body, which can cause inflammation. It can cause the increased allergens. It can cause people to have increased asthma. It can increase a lot of that kind of stuff. But again, am I saying it absolutely does? No, I'm saying there's links that it can cause increased levels of that. But that's why, if you can, for instance, with organic, I personally try and avoid genetic modification or genetically modified foods if I can. If you go back to some of my previous posts that are recent, you'll see I think you could debate that genetically modified foods are a lifesaver for starving countries and other things like that. But it's really difficult to argue that they're as healthy for you as organic foods. It's really difficult to make that claim. So if you have the wherewithal, you should be eating organic. It's, in my opinion, it's that simple. Something interesting, they, like I said, 2015 World Health Organization declared glyphosate, which is Roundup, a probable carcinogen. 2019, now there's all these, and there's people that have won cases that say specifically that glyphosate or Roundup was the cause or a root cause of their cancer. So certainly progressed over the last several years. Now, let's talk supplementation for a minute. Now, there's a lot of supplements that have benefit. In fact, if you're not taking a multivitamin, to some degree, I think you're crazy. And I'm not talking about a cheap multivitamin. I'm talking about a whole food multivitamin. In my opinion, 98+% of people should be taking a multivitamin on a daily basis for 2 reasons. Reason number one, most people don't eat healthy enough. They're not getting enough local, fresh fruits and vegetables, and they're eating too much processed food. Number two, because of our current style of farming and harvesting, there is nutrient depletion in a lot of the soil. There's lower levels of magnesium than there in food than there was 50 years ago for a lot of things. There's lower levels of many of these things. But why supplement? Supplementation from supplements that have been extracted from foods. So for instance, vitamin A that's been extracted from a carrot, vitamin C that's been extracted from an orange, whatever that might be. Whole food supplementation, like I like to call it, is something that is really is shown to have benefit, where synthetic, like let's say a Centrum Silver or something like that, that's all made in a lab that never has had an extraction from a fruit or vegetable, there's way different levels of absorption and quality. My example that I use is they believe at least 500 forms of vitamin A. There's micro changes within that vitamin A, where when you get it from a food, you're going to get a lot of those different forms, which makes it much more absorbable. When it's made in a lab, it's tough to get it down to that level. Now, vitamin D is, for me, is my biggest vitamin for immune system health. So vitamin D3 specifically. And here's the thing, if you look at this chart, and please zoom in on it if you're watching this, that bottom left corner, that is what it takes to prevent rickets. So rickets is bone bending, for lack of a better terminology. And rickets it happened when people got severely vitamin D deficient years and years ago. Rickets is essentially gone in our culture. There's vitamin D back added into certain things like milk and whatever. But here's the thing: if your vitamin D is over 30 from a medical perspective, you're considered to have adequate levels of vitamin D. But yet there are huge amounts of people that are below that, and then they get what they call prescription vitamin D, which is 50,000 IUs taken once a week, but it's synthetic. And that can raise your vitamin D level, but it doesn't raise it into the ideal range. I've had a lot of people try it. I've never seen somebody do it. So could you? I guess maybe, but I've never seen it happen personally. But if you look here from this chart, they actually show that if you get your vitamin D level over 50, you can prevent not just rickets, but you have lower incidences of cancer, of heart disease, of diabetes. Specifically, if you look on there, if you're watching this on your computer or streaming to your TV, you'll notice, I think the most unique one is the one that talks about expressing type 1 diabetes. And why is that so important? Because the expression of type 1 diabetes, most people understand type 1 to be genetic, meaning that if it just turns on, it's just bad luck. And for some people, absolutely that's true. But here's the thing that they've learned. It's a term called epigenetics. So epigenetics means that you have this protein coat on top of your genes that can turn the gene on and off. And this is how they've proven that, for instance, everybody or nearly everybody has heart disease genes. Everybody or nearly everybody has cancer genes in their system. It's whether or not either from an environmental or lifestyle perspective, you turn that gene on. Often it might be out of your control, like you happen to live in an area that has a pollutant that causes it to turn on. But for many people, they can unintentionally turn those on through other toxins, like eating food coloring or preservatives or processed foods, or through not exercising enough and their body becoming, whatever. But lifestyle plays a huge role in the turning on of these genes, which cause heart disease and cancer and that kind of stuff. So again, if you're struggling with high blood sugar, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, often this mountain program may be for you, because it could have the answers to help your body function and heal better. But going back to this type 1 thing, like I said, type 1 just may randomly turn on, but isn't it interesting that if you have a high level of vitamin D in your system, for some reason your body, even if you have the type 1 diabetes gene, you're less likely to turn it on? Crazy. Now, one of the other things that I always like to mention here when we talk about vitamin D, and here's my last thing about this, why you should supplement. If you're not getting outside on a regular basis in the middle of the day with a lot of skin exposed, you're likely to be vitamin D deficient. there's not a lot of foods that have vitamin D, and even like the vitamin D that's added back into milk and things like that is often synthetic. So people that work inside tend to be vitamin D deficient, but additionally now, in my opinion, we're creating an epidemic within our children because for people, very well-intentioned parents, they're putting sunscreen on their kids, yet there are many studies that show that the sunscreen that they're putting on their children may cause more skin cancer than it prevents, especially when you use cheap, toxic sunscreen. So the early sunscreens were mineral-based sunscreen like zinc oxide, and those were way less toxic. But why don't people use zinc oxide now very often? Number one, it's more expensive. Number two, it leaves that like white hue. So if you ever went on vacation with me, if I wear sunscreen, like if we were in Florida or something, and we're going to be outside, I want to avoid a sunburn, I would typically not wear sunscreen right when I went out there. But as 30 minutes or an hour went on, I'd start to put it on. It actually has it doesn't absorb as well. And so you kind of get this white hue, which is less, let's say, attractive. But at the same time, I avoid it. I don't put it on my children unless they're going to be out for long periods, because we could create the vitamin D deficiency. And if you've been watching our paleocardiologist series, you know that vitamin D deficiency is linked to things like low serotonin and other being able to produce other hormones when you combine vitamin D with cholesterol. So again, this isn't a vitamin D seminar, but hopefully that's an example of somebody that does it very well intentioned, but might not be getting the outcome that they want. And that would also be true for a multivitamin. So why am I talking about multivitamins? Think about this. When a woman is pregnant, almost every woman I've ever met, they take prenatal vitamins. And why is that? I know you can't answer right now, but the reason is they want the baby to be built the best possible. So when they're in the womb, you want them to have all the vitamins and minerals to put together to build bones and cartilage and muscle and brain and all that kind of stuff. So think about this. If you wanted that when the baby's developing, why don't we do that when they're kids? Why do so many people not give a multivitamin to their children when they're growing from, a 7-pound baby to a 170-pound adult? Wouldn't it make sense to give them all the vitamins and nutrients and minerals in their food ideally, but supplemented with a whole food vitamin? And then as adults, as your organs break down, as your skin breaks down, as you age, doesn't it make sense to give your body all the necessary fuel, or not all, but again, more necessary fuel to help be its healthiest? This is why we're so big on supplementation. Now imagine this. What if you customized your supplementation and know what you needed? So you would know if you needed to strengthen your adrenal glands, to lower your stress hormones, to balance your this, to whatever. What if you took some testing and really dialed that in? So if you're not even taking a multivitamin, step one, take a multivitamin. If you never detoxed before, step two, detox. Consider taking vitamin D. Ask your medical doctor to test your vitamin D, your physical. But if you know you want customization, if you want specialty stuff, that's when you want to look into the Mountain program. And again, just direct message us. Now, moving on from vitamin D, nutrition program. So again, we're going to customize the nutrition program based on your goals and based on your needs. So I'll be open with you. When I say customize, it's making recommendations. It's good for people to eat vegetables. It's good to eat a certain, but our hair tests actually show how well you metabolize protein, how well you metabolize fat, how well you metabolize carbs, things like that. So we can give you some indications on how much you're going to eat or how much you would be recommended. But I'm going to say in our Advanced Plan Plus, our modification of our main program, some of the things that we really talk about are loading up with raw vegetables, life-giving foods, eliminating grains and sugars. Often we're going to lower moderate protein and increasing healthy fats. These are other indications. Like I said, we've done some customization to this program for people that are specifically looking for heart and diabetes related things. But the number one people who've done this program so far, I'll openly tell you, is to feel good and lose weight. So that tends to happen when you get healthier and when you balance this. But we've seen people do it for their health. We've actually had quite a few of what I would consider my healthiest patients do it, not because they're sick, but because they want to function at their best. For my wife and I, for me personally, I have zero of the things on this list that I'm aware of, yet I'm openly going to tell you I'm doing this program again because I want to live my best health for myself, for my children, for longevity. And I say doing the program again, this is my first time doing the Mountain program, but I have done other programs in the past that are similar. Healthy fats are essential for cell membranes. I think most people know that. Is there anything worse than sugar? There absolutely is. Sugar replacements like the ones you see on this screen are known neurotoxins. They have huge amounts of downsides. They cause insulin imbalance. I think my personal opinion is that it's a crime that sugar-free Jell-O is still considered to be an okay food for a diabetic, or sugar-free syrup, or sugar-free this, sugar-free pancakes. I mean, that stuff is absolutely terrible for you. It's amazing. And again, you can make an argument that there may be some food lobbying or some money that caused that. If you don't know this, the heart health sticker that's on many of the cereals that you see that for a heart healthy diet, nobody actually certified the heart healthy diet. They paid a bunch of money to get the heart healthy stamp. And so it's disappointing that we can live in a country that operates that way, but we do live in a country that operates that way. So what's that mean? I'm not here to tear down our country or anything else. Think we live in the greatest country in the world. What I am here to say is it's your responsibility to take responsibility for your health. It's your health. It's your life. One of the most common things I tell people, they'll say, well, my doctor wanted me to take this, or my doctor recommended me. I'm not here to contradict that at all. You have to make the decision for yourself. But my most common line is keep in mind that if you die from taking all that stuff and not taking control of your health, you die. Your doctor doesn't die from that. You do. You have to be responsible for what you put in your mouth, how you exercise, how stressed you are, where you invest your money. You have to be responsible for that. And if you're not willing to, unfortunately, you're going to get the outcome that many people who don't take responsibility. My last analogy, without sounding too insensitive, I hear people say all the time, like, I just don't have time to do it, or I'm too busy, or whatever. I'm not here to judge your schedule, but I will tell you, eating at McDonald's and wanting to lose weight typically don't go together. Just because you don't have time doesn't mean you're going to be healthier. You have to decide what's your priority. So off my soapbox and on to the next thing, into the toxicity here. I'm going to go through a few different toxic steps, and then we're going to be done here right about the hour mark. So some of the most common toxins you might notice here, you see the first bubble is personal care products. Next one is cookware. Next one's household cleaning products. The next one's medication. So many people don't look at medication as a toxin. And again, it might be necessary. I'm not saying to stop medication, but it is made from a chemical. There are always known side effects. So let's talk about the top toxins. Currently, in our country, medication is the #1 source of toxicity for people. And this isn't just what the person consumes. Unfortunately, you get medication from tap water because it's not all filtered out after it goes through somebody else's body. You get medication in the food you eat because you get antibiotics and antibiotic residues and steroid residues from meat, from dairy, from things that are shoved full of them. But if you're on a medication, my thing, and I remember I said this to Don specifically, like when he was asking me and debating whether or not he should come to the seminar and start the program and that sort of thing. I remember saying to him so specifically, if you could even get off of one of those medications, if you followed all this program and somehow just got off one, would it be worth it to follow the program? And he made that decision. He didn't actually answer me at the time, but he made that decision. And again, it worked out way better. We're not here to guarantee stuff. We're here to help you. Toxins at home. If you touch it on your skin, the studies show that on average, 25% of it absorbs into your system. So if you clean your house with bleach, you're absorbing bleach into your system. If you clean with chemicals, you're absorbing a certain amount of that into your system. When you put toothpaste on your toothbrush, Crest was recently in the news a few years ago from having plastic in the toothpaste that was small enough that it could absorb into your bloodstream. People know they want to stay away from a chemical like BPA, which is a plastic that's shown to cause cancer, but yet there might be plastic in your toothpaste. I mean, isn't that crazy to think about? So using natural cleaning products, essential oils, avoiding the toxic chemicals, even if you can breathe it and it burns or you can smell the chemical, you're getting it. Another huge one is air fresheners and candles. Those things are so toxic unless they're made with essential oils. In most cases, they are so toxic. So yet you think you're making your house smell better. Maybe you are, but isn't that scary to think about that? The air freshener that you're blasting in your car could be damaging your thyroid and causing you to have thyroid. It could be causing cancer that's gonna show up 10 years later, and yet you're doing it to make your car smell better. Getting away from anything with an artificial scent, a chemical that you're touching. The last thing I want to mention is aluminum. Aluminum and mercury. I'm going to talk about mercury later, but aluminum. So aluminum you can get from certain things that are stored improperly, but a huge spot that people get aluminum is from antiperspirant. So when you put antiperspirant on your skin, one of the active ingredients is aluminum. And if 25% of it absorbs into your skin, now aluminum is shown across the blood-brain barrier. It's got links to things like dementia and Alzheimer's. If you've ever missed a day of wearing antiperspirant, that terrible smell, that how hard you sweat, part of that is your body detoxing the thing that you're putting on to not sweat on a regular basis. So there are natural deodorants, but I will tell you, all the people, now that we've done so many different tests for people in the Mountain program, the number one heavy metal that shows up across the board is aluminum. There's some people that have higher lead or higher mercury, but if we average it all, aluminum is the number one thing, and you're getting it possibly from things that you're not even thinking about. Continue with personal care products. I already talked about toothpaste and antiperspirant, but for women, for ladies, I guess for guys too, but really more for ladies, makeup. The creamy makeup, the non-mineral based makeup, highly toxic in most cases. So think about 25% of that absorbs through your skin. Your body has to detox. Do you think there might be some understanding that there's a correlation between wearing makeup for 30 years and having your thyroid start to not work, or having your adrenal glands or your sex hormones get off, or whatever? Well, again, some of the chemicals in there are shown to disrupt female hormones like estrogen. So am I saying they're causing it? It's up to you to decide, but really, these are things that people don't think about. If you're going to wear makeup, mineral-based makeup is much better. Pots and pans, specifically Teflon, not good stuff. The nonstick, you have such better options, like the ones that are, the metal pans that are now covered in ceramic that are near nonstick. There's just so many better options, but Teflon, terrible for you, especially if it gets scratched. Unfiltered tap water, I mentioned the medication being in unfiltered tap water. There's also a large amount of fluoride, which most people get too much fluoride. At the minimum, you should be filtering your water with a carbon filter. I personally choose to use reverse osmosis. I also have a whole home filtration system. So like my shower has way lower amounts of chlorine and chlorine disinfectant byproducts. Why do we do that? Because we believe in investing in our health. And if there's anywhere that I'm going to invest my money, even outside this, I'll invest in my health first, because in not being insensitive, but obviously you need money. Money makes the world go around, or whatever you want to say. But really, how many people would spend millions of dollars to get a new back or a new heart or a new whatever? Your health is your most important asset. Invest in your health in all seasons. Whatever that means for you, invest in your health. This is why I still get adjusted. This is why we do these things that make your body healthier and more functional. Last thing to talk about, apparently it's not going to stay on there, but amalgam fillings, mercury. There's mercury in most flu shots. There's mercury in the amalgam that's put in your teeth. There's mercury in large fish, because again, not because the fish usually have it, but because of the pollution that we've done as a human species. And so mercury is one of those things that's linked to a lot of other issues. And so I personally try and avoid that as much as I possibly can. There are people, we've seen people that get their amalgam fillings out and their headaches go away and things like that. Now, again, am I saying amalgam fillings only cause headaches? Absolutely not. It's just one of those things that we've seen it happen. But now, here's the thing about detoxification, and here's why I think you need to really consider detoxification, all the different lifestyle aspects, not just supplementation, but diet and lifestyle. Is look at this pathway. So this is a detoxification pathway. Now, there's 2 steps to this detoxification pathway. So again, as the toxins come in, step 1, you need the majority of all these things, like B vitamins, folic acid, which is B9, glutathione, which is made by your liver, antioxidants, which are in fruits and vegetables and some meats, carotenoids, vitamin E, vitamin C, just to start this detoxification pathway. If you're deficient in those things, you may not be able to detoxify at the level that you need to, and therefore you may actually have to store more toxins and build up a bioaccumulation of toxicity. Then once you get through step one, then you go through step two, which you use quite a few different amino acids, which are the building blocks for proteins, and then phytochemicals that are most available in, garlic and cruciferous vegetables, which a cruciferous vegetable would be something like Brussels sprouts. Then it's eliminated by your gallbladder and bile. So people that don't have their gallbladder need to detox more in theory, because your gallbladder helps with that. Your liver compensates, but your kidneys eliminate it through your urine. So again, if you're missing any of these things, hopefully you're starting to see why it's so important to do this at a, let's say, at a higher level. So we have quite a few different detox options, some more intense than others. Also, the reason why I talk about being guided is some of them are more intense, and you're going to want a medical professional watching you as you're helping get some of this out of your system. So as far as this goes, this is our detox powder on the left for adults. We do have one for kids as well. So even kids, again, how many kids eat Lunchables and eat crap food and eat macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and all that kind of stuff, have had their flu shot or certain other vaccines, or have amalgams in their mouth. I mean, these are things that do need to be taken into account. As far as metals, we have a group of standard process products, which is a company that are shown to be natural but help with what's called chelation, which helps pull metal out of your body. So if you're storing it, we have ways to help you get it out. But again, I believe you should test first to do so you get the right stuff for that. But we do have a system for that. Parasites, they're parasite cleanses. We call it the Vitality Cleanse. Vitality because it's life-giving. It helps your body function better. But again, the first step is to do some testing. So what do you need to do? I mentioned the body composition scan. We want to look at your diet through a food journal. Additionally, we're going to do the bioenergetics testing. When we do the live seminars, typically I have Abby on here to talk about how much she just loves the bioenergetic testing, but it's a computerized program where you're going to put your hands on these monitors, and it's going to give you a snapshot readout of all these different things that are going on in your body. Like you can see here, it says pancreatic function and different things that they feel like you might be toxic in or deficient in. That also helps us guide into what different, more specific tests we recommend. Because like I said, we have the option of doing hair, blood, urine, plasma. But the most common and the one I like the most for what we're doing in the Mountain program is a hair test. And so we do that specifically to you and for you. Now, what does this cost? So there's two different components. Obviously, the seminar itself is absolutely complimentary. Like I said, because of the current conditions that we're in, normally we do this all in the clinic, but most of the stuff we're doing it virtually now. So you have the option of starting immediately and doing it virtually. You have the option of doing it in the clinic, but starting virtually and coming back in once the shelter in place has been lifted. But step one is to get assessed and pay for the initial consultation and initial assessment. So that includes your going over your food journal, your goals, your body composition assessment, and your bioenergetics assessment, and a separate full hour appointment with Abby. When we do make this available to non-clients or client referrals, the expected price and the price some of my colleagues are using is $395. For current clients, so this program is only available to current clients or someone they refer. So I apologize right now if you watch this, you don't know anybody from our clinic, and you want to do it right now. The only people that this is available to is a direct referral or a current client in our clinic. But the price after this week is $215. Should you choose to want to do it from the time that this aired on Tuesday, April 7th at $615. For 1 week, we dropped the price for that initial consult to $185. So for the next week, you can do it over the phone. You can do it via email. We can call you. You can private message me, or you can post a comment on this. It's $185 to do this. So all you need to do is get it set up, and they can take care of that for you. So there will be links listed on the browser to email me or to private message me. But that's how you do it. So again, $185 for the initial consult. Based on that, we put together a specific profile, and really what you're paying for is you're paying for the testing, the time with Abby, and then the cost of the supplements. So I don't have this extra baked in stuff for me. You're paying for the time with Abby, the testing, and the cost of the supplements. That's what you're paying for. So they are customized, but there'll be a separate fee schedule for that. If you want to personally just try taking a multivitamin or something, by all means. Our goal is to be an added service for you. I'm not personally emotionally invested in how many people do this. I want to be there to serve you best. So with that being said, I want to finish with what I started with. Our vision is to empower people to live a healthy life naturally and to help lead a health revolution where people truly live their best life possible. So hope you enjoyed the seminar. I would like to ask you to like, comment, and share this as much as you possibly can. The best way for us to serve people right now through our seminars is to them live through Facebook and YouTube. Have a blessed day.